Hi everyone, it's John. Welcome back to my channel. It is October 22nd, 2022. I've been a little remiss in regularly updating this channel with videos because life. But it's been, when I looked at my video history, it's been 6 or 7 months since I've posted the kind of video that this channel was meant to be built around, which was a series of videos that had long-form book reviews of single books. So before another full month passes without one of those, let me review one of those for you. This is a book that I read earlier this year, was absolutely enamored with, taken with, swept away by, and to add to my delight, I actually ran into some other people on BookTube that I watch on a regular basis who were also taken with it in the same way. One of whom was Kim from Middle of the Book March. So was delighted to see that Kim liked the book and even traded a few words with her about it. The book, before I get into the body of things here, is A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr. And I have this edition by the New York Review of Books, which I got a couple of years ago. Carr wrote many books. Certainly more than this. This is the only one that his reputation really rests on, as far as I know. And I'd never heard about it until I happened to see this on the New York Review of Books website. So, if you'll forgive me, a lot of this review is just going to be sort of plot-based, but I think it's necessary to entice you to read it. I promise to not tell you too much that it would spoil your appetite for you if you decided to pick it up. So, A Month in the Country is set in the years immediately after the end of World War I. And for me, it very much wears its time and its place on its sleeve, in a good way. It was actually written 60 years later, after World War I, and was shortlisted for the Booker Prize in 1980. I think a lot of the charm and the loveliness of the book kind of rests on a combination of the story itself, the plot points, in combination with the way in which the story is told, the succinctness and the adeptness of how it's told. Notice the brevity of the book. To be quite frank, it is all of 135 pages. So the protagonist of the book is a man named Tom Birkin. He is newly out of the First World War as a soldier, and he's called to this old village in northern England to restore a medieval fresco that's been painted over and forgotten. It's now just sort of a palimpsest in this old chapel, and his job is to go in there, remove the paint, and to restore the original artwork underneath. Tom is broken down by his experiences in the war, possibly because of PTSD, which used to be called shell shock. He's gained a stammer in his speech, and he's also gained a facial tic. And he's also been a little disillusioned by his recently failed relationship with a woman named Vinnie. He's well aware of the fact that he's in serious financial straits, and also very aware of his status as an outsider and Londoner bumming around the rural countryside of northern England. And Tom knows that he won't have the resources to take a room, so instead he plans to stay in the bell tower of the chapel for the duration of his visit. Despite everything being said against him, This new project has Tom feeling really restored and resolute, that the past can be brighter than the future, and that refurbishing this painting will hold some small amount of meaning for his life. And as he begins to uncover more and more about the painting, he learns that it was created by no throwaway artist, but actually must have been done by someone with a significant amount of talent, maybe even a master. It is a painting of Judgment Day, when Christ reigning in majesty at the top of the painting, and the saved and the damned on either side of him. The artist himself left physical signs of his presence there in the chapel, like the indentations of his beard hair on the still tacky tempura. Tom and the artist parallel one another in a lot of really interesting ways. They're two people separated in time by centuries, but who read each other's mutual language in a small chapel fresco. And they slowly kind of inch their way towards one another in acts of mutual recognition. Outside the world of the painting, there's a small group of people that Tom visits, and that gives him occasion to meet. And one is a guy by the name of Charles Moon. He's also been in World War I and was also deeply, deeply traumatized by it. And he is at the church to uncover the grave of an old landed ancestor of the woman who actually invited Tom to the chapel in the first place, and to do his work as an art restorer. Tom and Charles recognize the ravages of war in one another, and they share morning cups of tea before the beginning of each day. He also meets Kathy Ellerbeck, who borrows her father's gramophone while he works in the chapel. Tom also befriends someone named Alice Keach, who is the young wife of the quite conservative and stodgy village vicar. The vicar has no problem letting the vicar himself, not his wife. The vicar has no problem letting Tom know that he resents his presence there and doesn't think his work is either valuable or necessary. But Alice is much more caring and empathetic and understanding than her husband. Alice and Tom have conversations with one another that kind of border on flirtation, but they're unwilling to put themselves in that situation, obviously, since Alice is married, and Tom is still in a relationship himself, even if it's with someone who is many miles away, and they're sort of in the down and outs. So if any desire is expressed there, it'll have to remain unacted upon, sublimated, unrequited. A month in the country is, at the end of the day, I think, about the ways in which life provides us those tiny, quotidian ways to connect with others, to share ideas, to share relationships, to share and build community across time and across space. In the case of the nameless master painter of the chapel painting, and across social and geographical barriers in the case of the villagers. These are the only things that can really give us meaning, after all. Not just in the book, but I think in life. If you remember Camus' essay about Sisyphus, you might remember the very last line of that essay, which is perhaps the most famous line of all. He says something like, "I can't do anything but imagine Sisyphus happy." That's a paraphrase. It's not the exact wording, but after this sort of long essay, imagining that Sisyphus is literally rolling this boulder up a hill for eternity, Camus comes to the very non-intuitive conclusion that Sisyphus must be content. And I'm sort of forced to do the same with Tom Birkin. Despite that some of his relationships were forged in that kind of self-same utility and impossibility that we see in Sisyphus, he can do little but find full satisfaction that his task is both absurd but also simultaneously the only thing that can ever make his life worth living. I just wanted to read you a small quote from the book, just a bit to entice you to actually pick it up. The marvelous thing was coming into this haven of calm, and for a season not having to worry my head with anything but uncovering their wall painting for them. And afterwards, perhaps I would make a new start. Forget what the war and the rows with Vinny had done to me and begin where I had left off. This is what I need, I thought. A new start. And afterwards, maybe I won't be a casualty anymore. My thoughts on A Month in the Country, an absolutely spectacular little novel by J.L. Carr. Bye, everyone.